Hello, welcome. Thank you. My name's Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is November the 28th, 2022. And we have a special guest today. It's Raphael. How you doing, buddy?
Hi, everything's all right. Thank you for having me today.
So, yeah, we're mixing things up a bit today. The reason I wanted to have you on is that I've been following your journey through social media. I think we met through Jim's channel, right? I believe, or other
Well,
channels.
I've been a long time fan of Aaron Short music, obviously, but I
Well,
think it was through Jim that we actually
that
got
can't
in
be
touch.
that can't be that long then. No, but it's been really interesting because you've been mentioning on my chat and his chat and other channels that you've been doing the open mics, and you've been really enthusiastic about turning
Mm,
that into getting gigs, and that resonates with me because that's what I did. Like back in the 90s, I used to go down to open mics and then try to turn them into gigs. So you're doing what I did back then, and I thought it'd be interesting to for us to discuss this and compare the differences, and then talk about any issues you've faced or are facing. And also, I'm sure people in the chat are doing similar things as well, so they can share advice too. We can just have a discussion about, I guess, gigging in 2022, because it's also very different now in many ways to
yeah,
back then.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So I started doing these open mic nights in May, believe it or not. So it seems like it was
wow.
quite a long ago, but it's very recent, really. And I have been bothering you, asking you like, how do you do this? How could you do that? Um, but it was basically because I was talking with Jim, really, and Jim from Audiomo podcast and Fame, and I was like, "Do you think I'm at a good enough level to go to open mic nights?" Quickly realized that the standard for anyone to do open mic is really low. As long as you are alive, sort of thing, you can go and do it. So if anyone here is thinking, "Oh, am I good enough to go?" Please do. It's just for fun, really. Um, at least initially, and that's what I did. I tried to find out through Facebook and social media and asking friends and asking people that I knew that were playing, that I saw that were playing, like checking on Facebook, asking, "Oh, do you know of any open mic nights?" As well, Facebook groups of the area around you. Here it's Blackpool, right? But I could have looked at Preston or Kirkham, the surrounding cities. I did a few of them, and eventually was doing one for almost the whole period of time. That's the ones that I put the videos up of the Highfield pub, which really helped me to get, good public interaction, knowing to do songs one after the other, the stamina required to play for a bit over, one thing is doing 10 minutes and then you go back, sit down, and you have a beer. The other thing is to play 40 minutes. It's like, oh, the guitar starts sitting differently. So all those things started to fall in place. Obviously the singing, because I'm not a singer by trade, I'm not a musician by trade at all, so I just like to play guitar and to sing a few tunes. So it is something that can be learned, and it's amazing really how confidence and practice helps you develop um, talents or abilities that you didn't know before that you had. So that's how I started doing open mic nights, and where I was at when I did an open mic night about a month ago. And the guy that was hosting it said, "Oh, I'll introduce you to the owner." All right, okay, sure. You even haven't. I told him you even haven't heard this because, in the meantime, I started a band with my friends. It's three 30-year-old guys in the garage playing drums, bass, and guitar. Um, so the drummer went with me, and he was gonna play. He said, "Oh no, you guys, you look like you know what you're doing." It's like, sure, looks can be deceiving, mate, but let's go for it. So I played, and then at the end, I went to talk to the owner. Said, "Oh yeah, we would like to have you." The next day, they contacted me and said, "Oh, we have a few free dates," because this is the thing that you're talking about 2022. Lockdowns, especially in the UK, but in America too, all over the world, people were unable to go and socialize. And now, as it opened as well, a lot of people had time to look into their hobbies, what they like to do, live music. It seems like it was this precious thing that it was taken away, actually. And so we really want to go and support it. So there's a lot of places that didn't do gigs. They weren't venues, really. They're just like bars, but now they're interested in having live music. Um, and I'm sort of capturing that sort of public. So you're gonna say,
Let's just slow down here a bit though. Like Did you? What was your playing like before the lockdown? Like, when did you start playing guitar? How experienced were you playing in general before you actually started even doing these open mics?
So I've been playing since I was 14. Okay, but I was thinking about this before coming on, and my playing level it's the same as anyone that can play a song beginning to end, 4 chord songs, 6 chord songs. You can play bar chords, and you're set. You don't. It's not a high threshold. You don't need to solo. You don't even need to riff really. It's just as long as you can keep a strum going and play loud and play quiet and pause when there's a big chorus, it's fine. So maybe it's the experience obviously adds to being comfortable in the instrument, not trying to find out how do I play a C here really. Once you've got that out of your system, once I can change chords without looking, you're good to go.
Okay, so you weren't that you hadn't done any. This was all new to you, like
Yeah,
performing. You
yeah,
were
yeah.
like,
No,
I play some guitar. I've been doing this. I love doing this. I want to perform, so I'll start with the open mics and and grow it from there.
yeah, I didn't play, like I never had been in a band before started playing open mics and then convincing my friends to join me.
Wow.
uh, I never played live because I'm from Portugal. In Portugal, there the open mics are not really a tradition like they are in other places around the world. um,
Mm,
it was not a musical thing in school. We don't really have live performances, so it wasn't something that I did when I was younger. The most that I did was taking the guitar to school and playing to my friends. But since being an adult, since being in the late teenager years, I never played really to a crowd that wasn't like friends,
mm.
family, that sort of thing.
I think it's really inspiring because you literally just said, I'm going to do this, and you just did it. And I think that's a big thing, with playing music. There's a lot of talented people that just never get around to doing it, and there's a lot of people that play at home, but to actually just think, right, I'm just going to do it and give myself a goal and use those open mics to do it. I think that's really cool. And I want to ask the people in the chat that are watching, I want to involve them as well. So, how many people in the chat have done open mic nights or are gigging full time? Give us your background in the chat as well. But I think these open mics are great because, like, when I moved from England to America, the way that I got gigs was to basically go to every open mic and jam night and gig that I could possibly find. Because how else are you going to network within that area, right?
Exactly.
They're so valuable. The only other argument now is, do we need them because we have the internet? Do you feel that you maybe like, how do you feel about, let's just do this scenario for a second. You hadn't done the open mics and you'd worked on posting videos on YouTube instead. What do you think of that? And do you do that? What do you think of that avenue?
I think it's different because um, there's two ways to look at open mic nights, right? It's the I'm going to go and have fun. I'm gonna play the song that I prepared, or no, I kind of know this song. I'm just gonna go up and do it, and that's perfectly legitimate. Or like you're saying, you can almost treat it as a showcase. I'm gonna go to that venue that they have an open mic night, and I'm gonna put my best foot forward, and at least they can see me perform. They can see my crowd work. They can see my stance. Am I a rowdy person? And there's a lot of things that don't translate through the internet, through videos. Unfortunately, it's good. Most like I'm sure I'm terrible with social media and organization because I don't have time for everything. But I'm sure if you have like a really good page on YouTube and you have like reels of 60 seconds that you can send to places, I'm sure you might get to it. But the fact is, the gigs that I have gotten have been through personal contacts. So someone knows someone and they know me and they go and say, oh, I can't do it like this Saturday. I can't do it, but I know a guy that can. I'm Raphael, his name, here's the number.
Mm.
There you go. Or I've been
That's
in place and they're like,
me
oh,
too. Yeah,
yeah, I
me too.
I
Exactly
like
the same.
I like how you played. Someone told me you went well, so it went down well. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's a lot of these basic human interactions.
I think a lot of it, and I'm just speaking very openly on this chat today. I won't censor too much because I think a lot of it is just, they say, showing up, right?
Yeah,
If you're available, if you're good enough, as long as you're good enough, like you can get through the songs, and you're available and you're keen and you're reliable. Those are the words, aren't they? Then you can work. Like, it doesn't matter if you're the next John Mayer. if you show up an hour late to every gig and you cancel and you're unreliable, you have to be professional and reliable and keen. And
Mm.
that's exactly what happens to me. Like you might want to play a place for years and then you can't get in, but then suddenly they need someone, and then they call you, give you a shot, and then you go there, and then you become part of the regular turnaround. So you're right. I think this is again. I think this is fascinating because your journey and my journey are so similar, and I think in the chat as well. Let's bring in look Gary here on Facebook. I got into gigging by meeting people. Oh, can't see you. I'll take your name off for a second. Hang on.
Yeah.
Meeting people at open mic night locally. I never get gigs from YouTube.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to ride that wave today though, because at the end of the day, social media now is more important than ever.
Mm.
And I was trying to get into that earlier. Like, is that more important? I think they're at least equally as important.
Yeah.
Look at musicians now that have a career just on YouTube, posting essentially live video performances on YouTube. There's definitely we all definitely have to have a YouTube channel and be posting the best quality stuff that we can. But at the same time, it's I was so relieved when New York reopened and I could go to a venue and actually play in front of people. And it's not perfect. There's nights where the audience, I'd rather be playing on YouTube.
Yeah.
But there's nights, but then, so I'm being too open. I hope no one's watching this that watched me play last week. But there's also nights. There's also nights where it's very special, and you would never get that. The best you would get on YouTube is a $100 super chat and a message on the screen that says you've made my night. You're wonderful. Yeah, great. But when you see that audience, and I'm talking about, when you see when you play that song and you get that reaction, and they say, "Oh, that was my first dance at my wedding," or that's a song that means a lot to me, or you did it. It's the human element is so good. But I personally think, and again, let us know in the chat what you think. I think these days they're both really important. Like going out and playing to people, and also that's a way to make money, isn't it? If you get a wedding gig, they're going to pay you that night. Whereas if you play online, you have to build up the channel and build up the revenue, build up sponsors or something like that. That can take a long time to do that. But I think these days they're both important. And lately, I'm trying to put more work into my website and my social media as well, because I do get people contact me for gigs through like Instagram, things like that. So I think the problem now is we have to do everything, and I've always said that since I was when I was in London. I used to teach music business, and that was when we had MySpace. And I remember telling the students, like, you must have a MySpace. You got to have a MySpace, and you got to do everything: a mailing list, a MySpace, a website, and gig. But now you've got to have a mailing list, and not a MySpace, but a YouTube channel, an Instagram, a Facebook account, a Twitter account. Yeah, I have not been doing TikTok. I was told last week to do TikTok videos. So you just got to do absolutely everything to get your best stuff in front of as many people as possible. And that includes then going out and doing jam nights and open mics as well. And then with that many kind of, hooks in the ocean, you're going to catch some fish, right? Because you've got all this stuff out there. So what are you doing? So you're doing the open mics. You've started doing gigs now, right? Paid gigs?
Yeah.
Which is great.
Which is great. It's better than trying to buy a Strat for 350 to sell it for 400 and then dealing with 10 people on Facebook that then back out to earn 50 quid. Like, I'll go, I'll if the first gig is 50 quid, I'll do it for 50 quid. Because, well, I am in a different position, and maybe other people are in similar position of, you have a day job, you have your 9 to 5, and this is something that you'd like to do as a complement, and especially now that, things are getting harder financially speaking all across the world. It's like, you have this skill that you've been working on for the past 20 years. Maybe you can put it to use. But as you said, time is the biggest constraint of them all, isn't it? Is it what you have to select sometimes? Okay, if there are that many open mic nights, do I want to go to all just to hang out? or can I kind of be selective about it? Because with the internet, what ends up happening is a bit of a buckshot, isn't it? You put everything online and you get from China to Cuba, everyone watching you, which is great. But the gigs are preferably within an hour range drive. You don't want to be going, to Malaysia to do a 100 quid gig. But it does help with that promotion. For example, what will end up happening is, for example, with here in Blackpool, we started to notice there was a few regulars. So we're trying to create like a community-based incubator where we can all help each other, uh, find open mic nights to be hosted by different people, and then we support each other's open mic nights to try to get the momentum going. Share, if there's gigs that you can't do, to have a list of contacts that can help around, and that's is supported by social media posts and pages. And hopefully, the plan is that those social media presence will drive then customers to the venues, because either we want to think about it or not, the fact is that um, live music is sort of bait for the customers to come into the bar, to the pub, or to have a good time. But in this environment that I'm doing, it's mostly bars and pubs and restaurants and hotels. Is to keep people in. It's retention at this level. It's not so much. Oh, Raphael is playing tonight, so he's going to bring 50 people with him because they love watching him. No, he's like, oh, we're gonna have this guy here play tonight, and people will stay for a couple more beers. They'll have another cocktail. Instead of leaving at 11, they leave at 11:30, and it
Yeah.
made the house an extra amount.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. I've been asked to do gigs. Like, how many people can you bring? That's so difficult because even if you do have a bunch of friends and fans and followers, how can you guarantee they're all going to show up? And how can I pay my bills hoping that people will show up and pay
Yeah.
a door fee? I think our job is to keep people there.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Because it's like that's what I've been telling everyone. And it's like our job is retention. Okay, it's not
Yeah.
attracting people. Attracting people is the venue's responsibility. They need to do their own publicity and marketing.
Mm,
My job is to keep the people entertained while they're there and not want to go to somewhere else.
mm. I think the artist should talking about being online. I think the artist should promote as well. Like I think I've seen artists that don't tell people where they're playing, or I've worked with
Yeah,
people who do who haven't posted it on their social. Like,
no.
well, why? Like, you don't want to say that you're playing a gig with me. So it's like I think everyone should do their part, especially now, where I do see. I mean, not now, but over the years, I've seen less people maybe out and about at shows and gigs, and live music has got more competition. I think everyone needs to do their part, but so many places don't promote enough, I feel. And there's so many basic things that everyone can do, like share it on the social, put a board outside the venue, tell people they're playing there. We can't expect all our friends to come to all our gigs, but maybe they'll come to one now and again. And I think it's just hard now because there's so much competition to live music. You've got DJs, you've got. I mean, I went
Yeah,
for a walk last week and I saw all these like trivia nights and
yeah. Quiz night.
karaoke night. Yeah, yeah, all this different stuff. So there's so much competition. So you really have to try. But like we said, the most important thing is that the people that are there, we keep them there longer than they were going to be there. I think that's really important. So how do you do that then? What have you found successful so far? Like what's working for you and what isn't working for you in regards to like material and interaction with the audience?
All right. So the secret ingredient to engage audience is the trifecta of Oasis, Arctic Monkeys, and and
What says
anything
the
football
answer is
related.
Wonderwall.
I was doing
Oh
so. I
man.
prepared my gig, my set list of songs, very meticulously. At a certain point, a group of lads and girls comes in, and it was like, "You should play Wonderwall now." It's like, "Sure, I'll play Wonderwall if the people want Wonderwall," and they absolutely loved it. And I had played Marty Bum in the beginning. No one batted an eye to that. And then when they were all there and already had a few, they absolutely loved Marty Bum. They were singing along. Um, for example, this Saturday I went to the hotel and a hotel here, and it was more of an older crowd. It was a lounge, it was a reception area. It was John Denver, Eagles, a bit of my own Portuguese and Brazilian music, not my own songs, my own style. Um, the Bowie, that sort of, it's tuning the songs to the circumstances. If it's younger
Yeah.
people, play songs that they'll know. If it's older guys and girls, play songs that they'll know. For example, at the hotel, the thing was, oh, the volume was really good. They told me a couple of times. The staff's like, oh, the volume is really good. Not
Mm.
too loud, not too quiet. So that's something important to the people listening. In the pubs, is more like play something that we know, play something that is upbeat and that we know. Um, Yesterday I was playing
Yeah.
"Take Me Home, Country Roads," and there was a lady that came from the other side of the bar and was like, "It's faster, faster!" So I played it faster.
You've just gave us loads of good information there. So let's break those down a bit. So play to the audience, right? A lot of people
Yeah,
I see, or I've seen people over the years that basically go out and perform and they play their favorite songs, or they play their own songs, which is also great. But again, is it going to please the venue? And or they just play songs that they like. I've always tried. I'm lucky because I like that music. Right? I grew
yeah,
up on Oasis. I love the Beatles. I love the Eagles. I don't play any songs that I hate. I feel like some people say you're into only jazz and you go out and play these bar gigs. Maybe you don't want to be playing those songs at all. That's not me, and I think that really helps me because I like all the songs that I play, and I think the people like those songs as well. So that's a great beginning, right? If you're only into heavy metal, it's much harder to play in these bars and restaurants. So
yeah,
we're lucky that we like. I mean, so you like those songs? Do you play any
yeah, yeah,
songs that
yeah.
you do you play any songs that you don't like, but you know the audience will? I mean, like, do you like Wonderwall or do you play it
Yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
reaction?
No, I actually like it. To be fair,
Okay, yeah, me too.
my taste is very much Britpop, indie rock, modern pop. I chose of my own volition to put a bit of Katy Perry and Harry Styles and Taylor Swift in the set because I thought, oh, people will like it. But secretly, I actually like these songs, and it's really fun to try to play them. I do a version of Levitating by Dua Lipa. I don't know if you know,
Mm,
which is very pop.
I did that for a
Uh,
while.
and I
which
still
which
I
which
started
key which key do you play that in?
A minor.
That's the original. No, that's
Uh,
not the original.
It's B minor, the original, isn't it?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's a step down.
Wow.
And I tell the people to like clap at the beginning and then clap when I tell them to clap, and
Yeah.
it went really well. They're like, and then do na 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 na, and they're like, "Wow, we're part of the
So
band now."
audience participation.
Mm.
Yeah, I did that too. Country Roads on that last chorus the chorus before the last chorus, I just stopped. I stopped playing guitar completely, and I just put my hands above my head and clap. And that's because there's a few reasons there. Like when the guitar just cuts out completely and it's just the voice, it adds because it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to keep things
Mm.
interesting with just a guitar.
Yeah.
So that like completely breaks it, and it's just voice suddenly, which is like big variation. And then it's very visual because my hands are up in the air and I'm clapping, and I've got a really loud clap too. You can't hear because I've
Been
got the noise
practicing
gate
for
on.
years. The
I've no,
perfect clap.
I just got a loud clap. So it's just like, and even if you're in a place where they can't really hear you, like they can see you doing it, they can hear a bit of the clapping. They notice that the guitar dropped out, so they look over, and then Michelle, thank you for subscribing. So they look over, and then it's like they always sing along, and the funny thing is, if they don't sing along, it's funny. You can kind of make that into a joke as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, that's something that I've done, and you're right because then you're involving the audience, you're making them part of the band, and the funny thing is, like everyone wants to be entertained, don't they? Really, they
Yeah.
do, or at least most people do. And on the nights they don't, it can be a kind of a joke. And I guess there's some nights where maybe it's quiet and there's just a business meeting in the corner. I might not do it. That's playing for the room as well, isn't it?
Mm.
But that was
Yeah.
a really good point about song choice, and I think we're lucky because we like the songs we play. People always people always laugh about Wonderwall. So
And
I've been
Wagon Wheel.
playing. Look, I've been playing Wonderwall since it came out. I must have played that and Breakfast at Tiffany's like 20,000 times. I still like them. I'm bored of the song as a song, but what I like is the audience reaction, the fact that they come alive. I like that, and I also like the fact that, well, I don't know. I'm not as excited by the song, but I don't hate the song, and I think
Mm.
that's cool after all those years too. And it works really well solo and with the looper and everything. Now, Wagon Wheel. Let's talk about the song Wagon Wheel, because when I moved to America, I kept getting asked to play Wagon Wheel, and I didn't know what it was. I remember the first time saying to someone, I don't know what that song is. And they're like, really? So I went to learn it because moving countries from England, I didn't play many country songs. It's interesting you said that you play Country Roads and the Eagles. I think I did maybe Ring of Fire as well, but I didn't do any other country. So let me ask you this question as well, because I find this really interesting. So I learned that song, and it's been a staple ever since, right? Wagon Wheel. But then that also got me into more country because it got me down that line. So I now do. Let me tell you some songs, and you tell me if you do these ones, okay? So The Gambler, Kenny Rogers.
No, but I should take notes.
So that's one. That's one that I did in the Australian bars in London, and then Friends in Low Places, Garth Brooks.
Neither. No.
So I did that in England too. But then I'll move on to like these kind of songs. When I moved here, was like People Are Crazy. Oh, now I'm on the spot. I can't think what they are, of course. But oh, I mean, and let me think.
Every
Like
time that you try to remember songs, they just
I
go.
know, I know. Like Jimmy Buffett. I didn't do any of his songs, right? And now I do them because they suit the venues that I'm playing at. But I never would have thought to play a Jimmy Buffett song in England, but it always works. So I feel like there are some songs. I mean, Country Roads is amazing the way that that just works anywhere.
I know.
But then
It's like
some
Shenandoah
country
Valley.
songs,
And most people in Blackpool have no idea where Shenandoah Valley is, and I just know. I
right?
just know because Jeremy, the guitar hunter, lives in Shenandoah Valley.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Well, I don't know. I don't know either. But the fact is, that song and Wagon Wheel, you can play them anywhere in the world, pretty much,
Yeah.
and people will sing along. It must be the melody, right? It's just got a
Yeah, it's
great,
very catchy.
catchy
And there
melody.
is
Yeah.
there is a lot of people in England that like country and swing, isn't it what they called it? This sort of music. So whenever there's like a pub, it's not like a pub that has young people enjoying a good time. It's like a pub that's over 50s, and they're there having a beer by the counter.
Yeah, but
Those songs go
even
really well.
even people in their early 20s will sing along to Country Roads. That's the other
Yeah,
fascinating thing
true.
about doing these
Yeah.
gigs. You
Or
learn
Sweet
that these songs
Caroline.
are time. Yeah, Sweet Caroline. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
they go like, so good, so good. It's like, what's this? What's going on?
You know what? The funny thing with Sweet Caroline is, I make a joke about this because the first time we do the chorus, everyone goes that, all right, really loud. And then tell me if this is just me, as the song progresses, there's less and less and less. And by the last one, there's nothing or it's very weak. So I usually make a joke about that. I usually just stop and say, every time I play this song at a gig, the first one's really loud and the last one's really quiet. So let's finish with a really loud one. And then we get a loud one for the. I love stuff like that.
It is funny. For example, speaking of like lines and jokes, which I think are important as well to keep off humor in it. So, hey, Staley there. This guitar that's behind me, the silent guitar, I can point this one. I always, sometimes, always is. Times are hard. I'm still buying this guitar. I'm still waiting for the top and back. And be like,
Oh, that's your joke. Okay.
it's a joke. No, I puddled through it. But although I told this to a friend of the other day, and she was like, "Are you really?" Like, no, it's a joke. Oh, so they got very confused.
All right. This is a good segue. I'm enjoying this. This is a good segue into gear. Because obviously my channel isn't about performance and doing the gigs, so it should be more so. It's about the gear. So how important is the gear? We'll talk about that. But let's focus in more specifically as well. What gear did you start with and what are you using now? Because since it's been a fairly short time.
Mm.
And what's working for you and what isn't. Let's talk more about that stuff. And again, in the chat, let us know what as we talk along, let us know what works for you as well.
Graham does raise a good point of picking songs that suits the voice. That's the most important thing that I'm still
Oh
working
yeah.
on. It's
Yeah,
like
very,
trying to figure
very.
out what songs do and what don't. Like now, I've really enjoyed playing Walt Grace by John Mayer.
Mm,
It's from Born and Raised, and there's a guitar shop in America called Walt Grace Guitars and Cars and Guitars. Either way, so gear.
No, hang on.
Right.
Yeah, that is a good point. Let's just talk about that. What I do is I said I only sing songs that I like. I have to like them, and they have to suit what I do because I have a low range. So, and I also change keys. That's a really good important thing. A lot of people or some people will not change the key, like they feel like that's cheating, or you shouldn't do it, or it doesn't sound right on the guitar, which can happen. But I mean, I change keys of almost all the songs. Not all of them, but a lot of them. 50% of the songs I do, I change the key. And there's various reasons. I mean, one is range, but also the gigs here can be like 4 hours with a 20-minute break. So that's a long time to be playing. If you go down to Nashville, they all tune their guitars to E flat because
That's not a bad
it,
shot.
well, down in Nashville they do like they might do 3 4 hour gigs a day. They're always gigging. They're always hustling on Broadway all the time. So they just kill their voices. So they tune down for that. Also, the guitar can sound good tuned down as well, as we know. It can add a bit more kind of
Yeah.
fullness if we're solo. But yeah, that's a great point. Choosing the right song that suits how you sing. Like if I try to sing Bruno Mars song in the original key, that's not my style. You know, my style is Oasis, indie, country, rock, that kind of stuff. So I will do like Britney Spears, but I'll make it more into those styles. I won't try and recreate the original Britney Spears song. I'll make it like a country cover of Britney Spears. So that's a really important point. I think I see that all the time. Like unfortunately, if there's a style we want to sing and it doesn't suit what we do, that can be a problem, I think, for some people. I think, again,
Yeah.
we're lucky because the songs that we do are that kind of style as well in general. So if you like the songs that you're singing and they suit your range and your voice, your vocal style, that's a big head start to begin with, isn't it? So that was a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who was that? That was Graham.
Graham
Oh, and
Campbell.
Graham also tunes down as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good job. Because there's just a couple of things that is songs that have open strings are tricky sometimes to change the key to me. Can always
Mm,
get ways around it, maybe capo up or something like that. I do have the helix, so I have considered the idea of playing with the poly capo setting to try to work around that. Haven't done it. Um, and I have another factor that is it's harder for me to sing in English than it is to sing in Portuguese.
mm,
So I have better control over my voice in Portuguese because the a second language, it's like a conversion layer. You know how Mac has sometimes can run Rosetta Stone to run older
right.
programs.
I hadn't thought of
That's
that.
sort of how I feel. It's like I can do it, but it's subconsciously more difficult, and it
Yeah,
doesn't sometimes translate into like this higher or lower notes not being as strong because it's accent and pitch.
mm. Yeah, people ask me why I sing with an American accent. I said, well, when I learned how to sing, they taught me to sing with face resonance. And when you talk in England, you tend to talk back here and kind of in the back of your throat.
Mm.
But when you sing more up here, and you can hear that kind of twang up there, and that's where you want to sing. So it goes right through there, and that's also how like American, Canadian, Australian might talk up there a bit more than back here. So I really should always speak up here. I find that I often go back here, and that's not, it's not good for even for talking for a long time because you've got all this pressure on your vocal cords. But that, and then of course the language thing that's another thing I hadn't
Mm.
considered. Yeah, of course. All right, but
And
let's
I'm
switch
also
in.
learning. Sorry,
Oh, go
let me
ahead.
just say that I'm, and as it goes on, I have a friend that anything that he needs to do, he prepares and he works out, and then he goes out and does it.
Mm,
I have the other approach of I'll say yes, I'll figure it out, I'll try to do it, and as I'm doing it and sort of failing at it, I'm learning how to get it done. So
mm,
I'm trying like to watch videos and try to learn about relaxed voice and what's natural pitch and trying to make the voice comfortable and in projection try to last it longer. For example, I like Foo Fighters and
mm,
and I try to sometimes sing on the same key that Dave Grohl does. Doesn't always goes great. I've had moments that I felt I nailed this, others I forgot to breathe, and therefore it was a bit painful to go through. But it's a learning. If you stop ourselves from doing things that we like just because you don't have all the tools right now, um, I think it just postpones.
Well, I think both are important. I think preparation is really, 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 really important. Like if you go to perform and you haven't prepared and you don't really know the melody, you don't really know
Yeah,
even if you have the words there, like you don't really know the song, that's not a good place to start from. But I also agree what you said about learning as you go as well. And you should at a live gig take a risk and try things out and learn from it. But I don't think it's good to do one or the other. I don't think it's good to only prepare and practice and never play. And I don't think it's good to just use the gigs as your practice either. I think you
yeah,
should ideally prepare. You can't prepare enough, right? And then go out and then just enjoy the performance for what it is. But yeah, I want to move into the gear
Okay.
thing because we've got a lot to talk about here. So what was when you first did the first open mic, what did you take and did it work? And is there a reason why you've changed to what you're using now?
So for the first open mic, I took the Helix with an electric guitar with the with the acoustic sim on the Helix, and it worked fine. I didn't particularly like the sounds of the acoustic sim, at least just hearing back through the PA. So on the next one, I took my acoustic guitar, the Eastman that's behind me, the OM. It does present with feedback ever from the beginning of doing open mics. It has always been a bit tricky with that. So I ended up using a lot of the electric guitar on a clean, like clean Marshall, clean Fender setting with a bit of reverb, sometimes a bit of delay, and with chorus for some of the songs that usually have 12 strings. And I've pretty much kept it. I have different guitars, so I change. Sometimes I take the semi hollow, sometimes I take the Strat. For the Brazilian Portuguese songs or acoustic songs that use nylon string, I did get this silent guitar that has no feedback issues and is really good as a performing instrument. It's not the most maybe pleasant, you know, how acoustic guitars go. Sometimes you play them and you're all into your acoustic, so you know what I'm talking about. They are real like resonant and full and no note definition and heavy at the bottom and high in the high strings and whatnot. But it's a really performance. It's like a proper tool. This silent guitar. If I would have like just disposable income to spend, I'll most likely get the steel string version of it because it's light, it's easy to carry, it's visually interesting. I've had multiple comments about that, and it's really easy to use in a live setting. But more often than not, as well, because on open mic especially, everyone plays acoustic guitar, or 95% of the people play acoustic guitar. So I thought, well, if I take the electric, at least it's something a little bit different. Is it cumbersome to take the full Helix floor and an electric guitar? Yes, it's painful for the back a bit, but
Yeah, I got some
otherwise,
thoughts on that. Like the thing about acoustic guitar is that they never sound like the guitar you have and you plug in. That no one's made a system yet where you actually hear that sound anyway. So I like the idea of the silent guitar or a solid body guitar for acoustic because you're not hearing the guitar.
no.
So why have a feedback chamber on stage with you? Now I got a couple of life experiences with the silent guitar. So I do have one and I like it. But when I first saw one, a guy was using it at one of the restaurants I play at. He was playing one, and he's a very good guitarist. He's actually an electric guitarist, so it made sense that he had that guitar because it's more like an electric kind of feel. And it was the steel string version, and I thought it sounded really good. But I remember some people told me that were there, I either worked there or in the audience. I forget now. It was a while ago, but they said it looked a bit strange. So that's one thing. This whole thing about gear, it's like, do we want that traditional look of like, a Martin guitar on stage? Or I mean that guitar, that's the one behind your shoulder, right? It
Mhm.
looks very modern. It
Yeah,
looks very strange and modern. There's no two ways about it, right? It looks like something from Star Trek, a guitar from Star Trek or something. So I get that. On the flip side of that, I played a party about a year ago or something, and I took the Cole Clark and I always take the silent guitar as a backup because it's so small and so
yeah.
portable,
Comes
and
with the big gig bag straight away.
the
Okay,
top's
speak a
not
bit
going to
now.
crack because there is no top.
Yeah,
And it's all folds up small into a gig bag. You can almost leave it in the car, if the weather's okay. So that's why I always take that as a backup guitar. But the thing is, I had it on a stand behind me, and some kids at the party were like, "What's that? What's that? What's that?" And I said, "Oh, that's called a silent guitar. Do you want me to play it?" And I played it, and they thought it was so cool, and they kept taking pictures of it, and I showed them how it comes apart like that, and it kind of made the gig. And it was
yeah.
one of the things that they kept talking about when I left. I know. So the thing is, this gear thing is difficult because maybe some people would be annoyed if you played, not annoyed, but maybe some people think that was weird you were playing that guitar. Maybe some people think it was really cool you were playing that guitar. I mean, at the end of the day, the guitar above your head there is more of a traditional looking guitar,
Yes.
and that's what people are expecting to see. So let's put that to the chat as well. Do you think we should play traditional looking gear, or should we play stuff that is kind of quirky and interesting to look at?
It's very visual, isn't it? Performing,
Mm,
there's a visual component, what you dress, how you present yourself, the gear that you carry. Like if you're doing country songs and you don't have a telecaster, it's like, what's this sort
yeah.
of, if you do Foo Fighters and Oasis and you don't have a semi hollow, like what sort of thing uh, are you trying to pass on? Because it's a very visual aspect. People want to go and see. They don't. We listen with our eyes, and
Yeah.
when I do the Brazilian songs and whatnot, and I do the with this guitar, it's like it's a whole different experience that I hope people are enjoying.
No, I like it, and it's so practical because, like you said, it's not you haven't got to deal with the feedback thing because there's no way it'll feed back, and it's got the impulse responses. I mean, they were one of the first Yamaha, some of the first impulse responses on acoustic around. That thing is way ahead of its time. A bit like the Variax was way ahead of its time. You could change the tunings and everything, and that people are not really doing that anymore. I always complain on here that the acoustic market isn't as big. You've got the Acoustasonic, but that thing can still feedback. It doesn't have the tunings. To me, that doesn't really solve as many problems. That is a great guitar. And also, the thing about open mic that we need to consider is that we don't know what system they're going to have. So they
Yeah,
might have huge monitors in front of you. And also, you're not doing your own sound. So
no.
what if you take I mean, I would never take like a K&K guitar to an open mic because you need to notch out individual frequencies on your mixer. So if they don't know that, that's going to be a huge problem.
Or sometimes the sound is being made on stage. It's like being monitored on stage. The mixer is not at the back of the room or to the side. It's like, oh, there you go. You have a speaker or two speakers and it's behind you. And then they have to keep coming back. And then they go to the back of the room to check the sound. And then they come back behind you or next to you. And you try like trying to play your songs and being aware that someone is moving about. I did play an Acoustasonic actually recently. One of the girls that plays had one. It needed a bit of a setup. The action was really high.
Mm.
The neck is wider than I thought it was going to be. Um,
Wider.
yeah, like thicker. I don't know. I have a telly, and I was expecting that sort of same
Hmm.
feel. It's a Japanese telly, but it sounded all right. To be fair, on my in my hands, didn't sound particularly great. Okay, but then I had this other girl that does gigs regularly, Katie Hill with To the Crowd, if anyone is interested. And I was doing my open mic with Peter on the drums, and she was there and was like, "Oh, would you like to play with us?" And it's like, "Oh yeah." So I did pumped up kicks,
Hmm.
and there was a few breaks, and we created a few breaks, and she just soloed over it, and it's like mind blowing. And Acoustasonic never sounded so good to me. There's also something to be said about learning the gear that we have and working around with it. So the Helix, um, I had the first gig really that I did on solo was in a charity gig outside, and I just took the guitars and a Roland Cube Street, which was on top of a chair behind me,
Hmm.
and it was very appropriate volume wise. Mic into the Roland Cube, guitar into the Roland Cube, no feedback issues, and everything went well. But now, because I've been doing all this, so behind the phone, which you can see, is a RCF ART 310, so a 10-inch subwoofer PA active speaker. Uh, I sold the Roland Cube. I sold another speaker that I had. I moved a few bits about to get a mixer and two speakers. So now I have a 712 and the 310. The 712 came broken, obviously, because it's eBay and everything is broken on eBay apparently. So it's to fix it with a tech after I got part of the money back. So it's between
Hmm.
in 4 to 5 weeks I'll get it back eventually. So next year. So it's the performing gear is different. XLR cables, microphone. So currently I have this microphone. That's why I was asking you about it.
What is it?
Which is it's a Behringer
Ah,
XM8500. So it's a copy of a SM58, and it's all solid, really solid. $15 or quid on Amazon.
people tell me the Behringer mics do hold up against like an SM58, but for me, that's kind of the heart of the rig. I wouldn't do it personally. I would get an SM58 if it was me.
I've ordered. I'm waiting for it to arrive.
Yeah.
I didn't get a SM58. That's for peasants. All right, Aaron.
Well, don't say
I
that
got
because a lot of people in the chat probably use it.
no, they're peasants
What
clearly.
did you order?
Are the exquisite version, the beta SM58.
Oh, because it's better, right?
It's better. It's better.
No, I don't use. I use. I told you I love the Sennheiser E935, but one did die on me last year. I was at a gig and the mic died. Didn't work at all. So, but luckily I carry. I now carry spares of everything. So even though I travel light, so I have a spare mic also for guest singers and speeches.
For example,
So I
these
have a spare
ones
mic. Yeah,
as
that's
a
good for
spare
that.
for like
It's good for that.
on
Yeah,
open mics. If you're hosting an open mic and you want to have a mic for them for other people to use,
yeah,
they make sound.
yeah.
Might not be the best, most pleasant sound. I think possibly I should work on my vocal abilities before going on about sounds of the microphones.
No, no,
But
no. It's totally that mic I use as a backup does not sound as good as my main mic, and that's actually a reason why I would even take a better mic for the backup because if someone wants to do a speech, you want them to sound good too because that might be a reason why they hire you again. Like you want everything to run as smoothly as possible. I don't think it would hurt to have two. Like I said, for me that's the source. That's important. Like the vocal mic, the guitar pickup that's your source, and then you're amplifying that. So if you cheap out on the microphone and then you've got to fix it later on,
yeah,
that's a problem. I mean, like today, like your mic sounds much fuller and warmer than mine, but I'm using mine because I have airplanes and cars and things, and I don't want to
yeah,
have that into the mic. So, but if I didn't have those things, I wouldn't try to make this sound better with EQ. I would just use the condenser mic like you've got because straight
mhm,
away it sounds better. So you've got to use the right stuff. I mean, don't go out and buy like $1,000 microphone, but don't. I don't know. I feel bad saying that because I know the Behringer stuff is very good, and I don't want to sound like a complete snob. But I mean, there's other things too. Some people tell me the SM58 doesn't have enough output for them, like, and the thing they plug into won't have enough gain. So things like that are worth considering. The Beta does have more gain. That's a good mic. Yeah. So I think you'll really like that
I
microphone.
saw I saw the beta. It's really old and it seems like it was dropped in some sort of acid with because the capsule, this bit for people that don't know, is all corroded at the bottom of rust. So I'm gonna change the capsule and
Oh,
give
you
it a
bought
full
a used
project.
one. You bought
I
a used
bought a
one.
used one
Okay.
where someone already has put spit on it. All the mojo is in there. Uh,
No, do
so
not. Do not. This. I have a big thing about this. Do not share microphones. It's disgusting. That's the problem with open mic. When people go to open mic and
yeah,
I mean, actually, to be absolutely honest, last couple of weeks I did jam with someone and I had to use their mic. This is the thing we need to include about open mic. It's not like you have the luxury of I mean, you can do,
everyone
but
changing their own gear and putting it
change the
and turning it up.
mic,
And
yeah, plug in your guitar through your Helix, plug that into the wall. It's not like that. You think it will be like that, but the reality is it's usually get on, get off, and that's very important. So yeah, you have the. If I was going to do anything, I'd probably stick my mic on the stand and plug. That's why I love the Cole Clark, right? Just plug it straight in, stick the mic up there on the stand, and go. And if I do share the mic, I'll just I won't get close to it basically, which
yeah,
I do when I sing at my shows. I eat the mic, but I don't want to do that when 10 other people have been singing through it. So always change the capsule anyway. And every year I change the whole capsule on my microphones because even my spit gets in there and it starts to clog up. It's hard to
yeah,
clean. So yeah,
that's a good
no one ever thinks about that, but it's really important. Like especially after lockdown, like don't share microphones. And
tip.
even on your microphone, just to buy a new, clean it. You can take the capsule off and clean it every few months, and then every once a year, just buy a new capsule. You know.
That's a good tip because yesterday I was hosting an open mic, which is another way to make money. I didn't know. If you didn't
And
know,
and everyone shared the mic, right?
yes, we all share the mic.
Gross, gross.
So this mic possibly has COVID now.
Oh,
Uh,
oh. Please,
but
please wash it. Please wash it at least.
I'll put it in the washer. Don't worry. I'll just go. It should be fine. Um, so you're talking about eating the mic.
Yeah.
Is it? Does that help with feedback, or is it just placebo? I try to get it really close to my mouth, and I think, well, the closer that I am, the less other noises will get into it. Because feedback has been a bane to my
You want
existence.
well. This is
Because I want
people
to
talk.
hear myself. You want to hear yourself, because in order to sing properly, you need to hear yourself. But on the other hand, there's feedback.
But people the people that complain to me that like the Bose S1 Pro doesn't take their mic loud enough, I feel they're singing like this. That's
Mm.
too far away. So of course, when you're touching the mic with your mouth, of course there's a lot more gain. You also tend to get more bass response, which you may or may
Mm.
not want. But what I do is I sing. I also use the vocal harmonizer, and they recommend you do that because it wants the
All right.
biggest, cleanest signal as well to harmonize the notes with. So I will have it right on my mouth like that. And then if I sing really loud, I'll back off slightly, but not too much because then you'll lose everything. So the way to do it is to always sing touching the mic. And then if you're going to really like sing a chorus of like Brown Eyed Girl, just back off an inch like that. And record that and listen to it because I've been recording my gigs lately and sometimes I back off too much and you lose it completely. That's why I love
Yeah,
this headset as well because wherever I move, look, it stays the same. That's really cool. So
yeah,
I actually
because
know a
sometimes
guy
they have.
that I know a guy that uses one of these at gigs for that reason. Kind of cool, worth considering. But like Britney Spears. But the thing is, try next time actually eat the mic. And the reason why I say about open mic night is so disgusting is because if you do that open mic night, you're touching everyone's touching. That's like using someone else's toothbrush. It's disgusting. But some people sing like that. If you go to open mic, you don't want to touch the mic, you could just sing away from it like that. You should be okay. If you don't clean it first or take your own. But for your gigs, yeah, try actually singing right on the mic because you'll get more gain going in. You can reduce the gain on the console. You've got less kind of distance between you and the mic. You should get less feedback and you should get a warmer, fatter sound as well. So try that next time.
It depends on the room as well, doesn't it? If the room is really quiet, there's a possibility to be at a certain distance from the mic. If there's a lot of people talking and making
No,
noise, and
actually, no, I don't agree.
no, it's always all
Whenever you
right.
do anything, always eat the mic.
Okay.
Now, tell me in the chat if you agree with me or not. But this is the way that I've always done it and works best for me because you're really close to it, right? You're really close to the mic. You're going to get the most gain. You're not if you're back here and you turn the gain up to compensate, you get a load of noise as well.
Mm.
So you want that nice strong input.
I
So
had
try that.
noticed that, especially for low notes, I had to be closer to the mic to try to get
Yeah.
the lower volume with the breath and lack of skill, let's just call it. So I was doing closer to the mic, but I thought it was just bad technique on my part. But actually, if knowing that that's how you're supposed to do it, I'll take that forward.
Yeah, because if you because low notes don't cut as well. Like low notes, you lose the attack of them, so you get closer for that. And when you're singing loud in the middle of your voice in like your chest voice and you're belting out like Dave Grohl, you would back off slightly, of course, for that reason as well. But so I'm just reading the chat. Gus, how you doing? Gus is a local musician here in New York. You should come on sometime, Gus. That'd be cool. So so try that next time. Also, I want to throw in though, I use the TC Helicon pedal, and that actually has compression and EQ automatic. So that wants to get that loud, so that will then compress it for me. If you don't have a compressor, you might find that you have to. In the old days, I used to do this. You'll
Hmm.
see, like when they're really singing really loud, they'll go like this, and then when they're singing soft, they'll get really close to the mic. It's that's the technique. For the vocal processors, it's just good to just have it up close all the time. And I love those. TC Helicon stuff is so good. I love it
Yeah.
because you haven't got to think
My
so much.
my mixer has a bit of compression,
Compression,
uh,
yeah.
and I was trying to route my mic and my guitar both through the Helix floor. And once again, your videos came up. Every time that I try to look for anything that is like live music, solo act, acoustic, your videos are always on top, even if it's from like
Oh, that's
five
good.
years ago.
That's good
It
to know.
is no, it's really useful. Like your videos are actually a resource for
Mm,
people that want to do this sort of thing.
mm.
So it's not just
I should do
here,
more of
here,
that
there.
then. I should do more of that. Yeah, because not many people do that stuff. And yet,
Yeah.
like, where do you gig now? It's really hard to gig. I want to do more band gigs. It's really hard to book a band gig because a lot of the music venues are too small for a band.
Yeah.
And even if they've got space for a band, well, first of all, you've got to then split the money 3, 4, 5 ways. So are you going to make enough money to pay the bills that month if you're doing it full time? And then also the equipment, the sheer difference in the amount of equipment you have to take to do a band gig versus a solo gig. It's a lot. Like when I do a solo gig, I take one speaker on a stand, the Voice Live 3 is the mixer and the guitar, and I just plug the pedal, go straight in. With the band, I've got to take the full PA. I've got to have a mixer. I might want to take a guitar amp if I'm playing electric guitar, pedal board. Like the difference is massive in gear, especially when you sing and play guitar as well in a band and you
Mm.
provide all that stuff. That's a real kind of hassle and effort to get that stuff to the gig if they don't have a system there versus just rocking up with a, speaker and a guitar and just playing an acoustic set. So that's
Yeah,
is
it's
much
completely
harder.
different. And you know, let's say I'll charge. I don't, but I'll charge 100 quid for myself. It's like with three bandmates. It's like, oh, it's 300 quid. It's like, does the
It's
band
a
really
big,
bring three times the number of customers, or
good
keep them
point.
inside? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's tricky, and then it's also the space that you take in a place if they don't have a specific
Yeah.
stage.
Taking
You know,
space for customers. Yeah.
I'm gonna put a table right next to the drum kit, next to the cymbals, for providing ear damage for the next 12 hours. um, it's tricky. With these open mics, we have taken the drum kits and we've played duos, and in some went really well. On others, like it's a bit painful. On one of them, actually, my guitar was louder because the drum kit was at the end of the room. I was in the middle of the circle where they had taken the space out of all the tables, so I was in front of the drum kits for like 2 or 3 meters, so people could hear my guitar louder on Erlandria by Foo Fighters than the drum kit. So, and then it becomes all these trying to cover all the sounds. Trying to cover the sounds, not
Mm.
different types of sound, is trying to balance the sounds as a band. And then if it's just you don't have a sound person to adjust the levels as the gig goes on. It's tricky.
Well,
I
with a
imagine it's not easy.
but with drummers, you've also got to have a drummer that won't play too loud because some drummers can only play really loud, and then everything else has to be louder, and it just gets. I went to a gig a few weeks ago, and my watch. I love this Apple Watch; is great because
Yeah.
it actually showed me like you've been exposed to 98 dB of volume for 20 minutes. This can permanently damage your hearing. I'm
Yeah.
like, see, I don't get that at my solo gigs playing acoustic. It's very hard to do that. But with a band, when the drummer's just going and they've got everything cranked up, I carry earplugs all the time these days. But I just don't want to get
I
ringing in
was.
my ears.
We've done a few practices that afterwards I had my ears ringing, especially when I'm right next to
Yeah, that's really bad.
the
That's
cymbals.
really, really, really bad.
I have this. Let's try to show it. I have these,
Yeah,
which are the Fender earplugs. But
yeah.
how do you sing with ear protection? That's my question.
It's tough because when we sing, we're so used to hearing the ambient sound as well. And I found that in lockdown when I did the cover songs, like I'm not used to have to even this. It changes the way you perceive your voice and
Yeah,
even pitch as well. And
that's why
lately,
earlier I was with the ear slightly
yeah,
out,
yeah.
so I could try to hear
Yeah,
myself
I
because
don't like. I
I'm a big
like it and
fan.
I don't. I like it and I don't. I'm using in ears at half of my gigs now because it's a restaurant, and I just and the speakers in front of me because of the other way. If it's behind me, that bleeds back into the people eating. So we have it in front of me now. So I use them as monitors. I'm still kind of adjusting to it. I do get a good sound, but I feel like pitch wise, like I've just sung for so long without them. You really have to get used to that and adjust to it. They can be really good. And the Voice Live 3 also has internal microphones, and you can blend back in the sound of the room. I just love that. I love that. If you can't tell, I love that Voice Live 3 Extreme. It's very good.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's taken me many years to find a rig that I can use, and that's what I use. But let's just go. I mean, the thing with gear is there's so many PA systems, there's so many speakers, there's so many guitars, there's so many pickups. So let's go to the chat for a second because we could talk all night about gear, I'm sure.
It
Hi to
seems to me.
Lee.
Sorry. Go on.
Lee said, I can't play songs I don't like. I mean, unless you're a good actor, I don't think that you should. Right? Um, yeah, you see, Cheeseburger in Paradise. When I heard that song, I was like, what is that? Cheeseburger in Paradise.
I don't know.
But if you're playing like in an American style bar, or if you're playing at Margaritaville, that's what they want. That's Jimmy Buffett. So that's like, and it's a fun song. But if you played that at your gigs, I bet no one would know what it was.
Yeah.
Stady knows. Okay, so Paul says, I'm having a tough time getting gigs. Everyone who hears me play loves my work. Okay, good. But the people who hire continually gravitate to a small group of locals they know or say I'm too mellow. So there's two things to address there. People that are in that kind of circle, that can be tough because some places where you live, they do have like a circle of musicians that they book all the time. And trying to break through into that can be tough because maybe, and I'm sure they also don't want other people coming in either because maybe they just rotate all the time and that's their thing. It's a bit like if you go look for a gig and they've already got regular musicians, right? You don't want to like take their job, but you want to say, hey, if someone drops out or you need a replacement, I am available. That can just take a lot of time, I think, for that. And then what you said about being too mellow, well, if you're looking for gigs where they want upbeat music, they want more of a party thing, then that can be, I guess it can be a problem. So I guess then what you've either got to decide, Paul, am I going to add in those upbeat songs and kind of change what I do? And like I said earlier, if you like that, that's okay. If you're forcing yourself to do that and you don't want to force yourself to do stuff you don't want to do, that's not a good idea. But the other option is to find places that want the mellow music, like more like background music, like cafes and things like that. So what do you think about that, Rafa?
Yeah, people have described me as being mellow or more like calmer sets because it is. I don't know. I don't do like Tina Turner. There's a guy that I've been playing with. He does like Barbie Girl and Spice Girls. It's like versions, upbeat versions of songs.
Mm,
And comparatively, I'm not that sort of person. So I do struggle to perform songs that I don't know well. So I'm trying to learn songs that what ends up happening is we sometimes are a representation of what we hear, and I hear a lot of these mellow, chilled songs like Jack Johnson and Jason Mraz and even Taylor Swift or Katy Perry. A lot of their songs are calm, lower
mm.
a sort of tempo. So it's a matter of doing research, looking for songs that people would like, trying to see from what you like what is there out there to get to. And I'm on that journey of finding songs that will keep the party atmosphere going.
Mm.
um, with just acoustic guitar sometimes I think it can be tricky because there's no bass, there's no drums, there's no percussion to keep the people dancing, let's say, if that's the goal. I don't know, do you have any suggestions?
Someone told me years ago, you need a drummer or people won't dance. That's simply not true. Because like the guitar is a very rhythmic instrument. So you
Mm.
can the way you play it, if you add in like those backbeats and things, you can make it sound like a drum. And then you can also use like a drum, like a bass drum pedal. I've used those sometimes to add in that kick drum sound. Or you can loop, right? You can record a 4 chord song and then add in like a that's another reason I love the Cole Clark. It's got really strong body percussion. Almost sounds like a drum when you play it. So if you drum on that thing and then you loop that. But I don't think you even need that. I think if you play Brown Eyed Girl solo acoustic, people will dance to it. I don't think they need to hear the drums. It's more about the song and the groove and do they know it? I think it's most important.
I've seen people dance to Live Forever by Oasis.
Wow. But that's the UK.
And
They
I
wouldn't
was
do
I
that.
was I
They
was
wouldn't
doing
do
this
that
song,
over here.
and they were dancing to it. It was like, how many pints have you had to have in order to dance to this? Um,
But when you say dance, you mean kind of sway around with a beer in the
no,
air.
no,
You
no,
don't.
like, yay!
Yeah, yeah, but you don't
Which is
mean
not
like.
salsa. It's not salsa. It's not merengue. It's not cha-cha-cha. It's
Hang on,
um,
look. Paul said, maybe my problem is like Lee, I don't care to play songs I don't like. Brown Eyed Girl won't do it. That is a problem. Like if you want to play party gigs and upbeat kind of venues that want that kind of stuff, you've either got to find those songs that you do like. Maybe there's some other upbeat songs you do like, or I guess if you're not willing to do them anyway, I guess the answer is to then find the other venues. There's a lot of venues. I mean, I've done gigs in libraries. That sounds crazy, right? I've done and some people I know play in Central Park. They play in the park. They play outside in the subway. There's coffee
different
shops. There's a
times of
big
the
coffee
day as
shop
well.
circuit. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like sports bars, right? It doesn't have to be that. So I think consider changing the repertoire, and if you just don't want to do that, then look for venues that will suit what you're doing more than that, because there are places that want more of a mellow background, quiet kind of thing. Definitely, definitely. You just
Yeah.
got to find them. Rexomatic said, I usually mark my mics with stage tape and my initials so I don't end up with someone else's mic, especially 57s, which everyone seems to have. That's a great idea. If you do a lot of those jams and open mics and you use your own mic, then make it really obviously your mic because all the SM 58s look the same.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I never thought about that. Put a sticker on there. Do not use. Do not sing into
Or
this microphone.
get a different color grill, like red or blue or something like that, so everyone knows that's your mic.
Mm. Gus agrees about eating the mic. If you haven't tried that, I'm not saying you do it all the time. And some of it, like I said, some of it depends on your gear. Like the Voice Live TC stuff, they want you to eat the mic. But just try it next time and see what you think about the difference. But I think that would fix a lot of people's problems with gain and feedback if they did that more. Because when you write on top of the mic, you need less gain. The more gain you need, the more chance there is to get feedback. Right? That's the whole thing with feedback, having too much gain. But then Danielle said, with an SM58 or Beta 58, I try to be about 3 inches away. I don't know. I guess maybe if you're doing like jazz and there's no drums and you don't need a huge amount of volume as well. But for what I do, see the thing, I'm doing what you're doing, Rafa. I'm singing in noise. I'm competing with the people that are talking and drinking and eating. There's so much noise floor that I just have to get as much gain before feedback as possible. And I don't want to be too loud either, because what happens when you turn up? They talk louder, and then you turn up. And then they talk louder, and then it just becomes this. Then it gets to 100 decibels. So we don't want to be
As
doing
the
that either.
as the night goes on, the gain tends to increase overall, isn't it? I was having an issue though on Saturday with singing because the drum kit behind me would indicate more input into the mic than me singing into it, which is not maybe something that you do when you're solo, but yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. It's a learning curve for me, which we might want to do another of one of these in 6 months and see if I figured some of this stuff out.
But then that's why I love having the chat here. Because look, here's a real life problem. Eating the mic like this, eating the mic means singing right on top of the mic, requires not having to look at your guitar. I fingerpick exclusively and have to stay back a bit so I can see what I'm doing. Pros can do it, look at the fretboard, but I can't. So that's another good point. If you're playing the guitar and you've got the mic right in front of your mouth and you need to look that, see what happens as you look down at the chord you're playing? La 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 la, lose all the volume. La la la, too loud. So that's a good point. That probably brings us back to the preparation thing, doesn't it? If you know the song, if you practiced it, if you're playing chords only, I guess you don't need to look down. Yeah, I guess if you're doing if you're going to play a solo, you're going to need to look down. But I guess at that point you're not singing. So I get what you're saying. That's a good point,
I
Paul.
would say a boom mic stand, so you have distance enough, and
Mm,
then place it so you can play. Because I do tend to look at my hands when I'm playing, especially if it's like bossa nova, which is a bit more jazzy chords, the sevens
mm,
and nines and whatnot.
yeah.
Um,
I don't
so
play
I
those
tend to
chords. I don't play those
anything
fancy
above seven is like no, I'm not having that. There's only 8 notes.
C, G, and A minor all night long, 4 hours. Come on, I kid.
So it. Paul, you know what to do. You,
I think it's preparation. I think like if I was going to
I
do,
need to prepare way more for my gigs. And
yeah,
that's what I want to say. There's a noticeable difference because I've had friends come with me and they say you sound so much better when you know the songs and when you just get
really,
into it.
you're like
Yes.
really.
No. I agree. I'm
No,
self-aware in that.
it just say when you say that, it just sounds extremely obvious, doesn't it? Like
Yes.
if you're better when you know the song. I mean, not many people can play a song they've never played before and play it as well as if they'd sat and prepared it for a week or a month or
It's
a
not
year.
even that, sometimes some of the songs I know the song. I played it so many times, but I'm still afraid of losing the lyrics and what
Mm,
chord comes really after that. I have really poor memory in that regards. I don't know, maybe other people have it easier, and apparently now the doctor says I have ADHD. I don't know if it's true or not, but so I really like struggle to focus on one thing at a time, like doing the set list and copying the lyrics. I thought I'm gonna be prepared and have all the lyrics. Copy pasting the lyrics into a pages document took me 3 hours. It was only
mm,
30 songs because I do, and then I get distracted and I do. So this is
mm,
something that I have to work on myself. But when I do know the lyrics and I know the chords, and I can just focus on singing instead of focusing on reading and looking and singing, the singing and the playing comes out much, much better. Um,
I think Paul should try to like take one of the songs and learn it and without looking at the guitar. And if that's not going to happen, then yeah, I guess that's a reason why you might want to be a little bit further from the mic so you can kind of see it in your peripheral vision. But I think ideally, and I'm trying to think what I guess I do less fingerstyle songs. So most of my stuff is strumming open chords. So and if I'm playing a solo, I'll loop it and I won't be singing at all. So I guess I've not really had that challenge. If I do something like Blackbird, like when you start it off in the open position, that's fine. As you go up the neck and hit that 10th fret, I guess I have to look down. Yeah, that's a good point, Paul. But I think some of the old school players used to be able to play without looking at the guitar at all. I think that's a good place to aim for. I know it's really hard, but I think that's a good challenge to have. Marcel said, "How do you sing? Oh, how you sing with ear protection? Use in-ear monitoring. You know, there's a flip side to that as well. Don't have your in-ear monitors too loud because you might have the in-ear monitors louder than you would have the monitor on the stage.
Right.
That's something I'm dealing with too. Like, don't have them too loud in your ears because if you think about it, they're right there. So if you crank them up too loud for 4 hours, that can do more damage than the monitors on the stage.
And
So
the
be
watch
careful
won't
with
tell
that.
you about it.
Be careful with that. Yeah. Oh, Rosanna said we went to an open mic last night and my watch was constantly warning about the decibel. There you go. It was a bit too loud for me, but it was a lovely evening. Yeah, but don't damage your hearing. I remember this last year. I had a company on here that did earplugs where you could open them up a little bit. They'd be cool to
Mhm.
have. So you can like turn it and it allows a bit more volume through. That's a good thing. But when I go to these jam nights, I take the foam earplugs because they block out the most sound. And if it's saying like it's way over 100 dB like that, yeah, you just want to block your ears. You can still hear it. That's a crazy
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
But if you get the fancy earplugs, it's cool because you can hear it really clear and you still get the kind of impact of the sound on, kicking you in the chest, which is, I like that at like big rock concerts. When you get those fancy earplugs that are like custom and they just block out a bit of the sound, so it makes it safe, but you still feel the music. But yeah, I think everyone should have earplugs in their gig bag or their coat for that reason.
My drummer gave me ones that are plastic and it's like rings.
Like the
They're sort of,
tree. Yeah.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
do seem like to catch just the high end a bit more rather than everything.
Yeah, I don't like. I want the earplug just to bring the overall volume down slightly, which is why I like the ones I had on before, and I do have those still. But I also just take the foam ones everywhere I go because you don't know. You might walk into a bar and they're playing a DJ, and you just don't want to hear. You just don't want to have any of that. So you just stick the foam. And if you really haven't got anything with you, you can roll up like tissue paper and stick it in your ear like a napkin. It
Yeah, but
works.
do you
It
still have
works.
friends after doing that though, or
I
they
knew a
just
guy
walk away?
I knew a guy in London that sang with that in his ears on stage
Wow.
because it does it lowers it, but you can still hear a bit because it's only tissue paper. So just yeah, but do something. Don't sit at open mic when your watch is saying that it's dangerous for 3 hours because it's gonna be damaging your hearing and you never get it back, right? So um, Graham said, any thoughts on tips sound checking in a noisy pub? I get things approx how I want them, but I'm invariably tweaking through the first few songs. I play Dreadnought's main guitar has a Fishman piezo. I mean, that's really tough. You don't get a sound check, really, do you? And you can't really do a sound. And you certainly can't ring out the PA system because that just sounds really amateurish, even though it's not amateurish. That doesn't sound good to the people that are there. It's another reason why I like having a rig that just kind of works for me because I know that with that, I just know with the Voice Live, the way I've set it, and with the Cole Clark plugged in, I just know that I've got a sound that will work most places. And if it doesn't, I can make some adjustments on the guitar and not have to get down and tweak things on the floor. Um, yeah, it's really tough. Think about it. Every time you go out to play, you're in a completely different room. So it's going to sound different everywhere you go. So that's why I think this kind of gear that just works most of the time is important. Like that silent guitar, it's got a sound that cuts through. It doesn't feed back.
Yeah.
That's a great tool to take to a gig. I've been trying the K&K lately. It's great, but I feel like I do have to like make adjustments and things. I've got it to a place now where I think it would work all the time, but it took me a few weeks to get to that point, and that's not really something you want to deal with when you're there to perform. You want to just
Yeah.
perform. That's why I love things like the Cole Clark, the Maitons, the guitars that are made for that purpose, and that includes the silent guitar as well.
I
Because
have a good friend of mine that has come with me a couple of times, and he mans the mixer. um, and it has then like high cuts and low cuts and EQ changes and increasing reverb here and compressor there. So I've had a sound guy, which is a luxury, which I
Yeah.
won't always have. But yesterday on, I was using a Stage Pass, Yamaha Stage Pass 500, I think, one of the older ones. I didn't know, but that thing is a powered amplifier. It's a powered mixer, and the speakers are passive speakers. Um, and I did have to adjust it because of the feedback. It's an issue. Um, but
Yeah,
you
you
know,
were saying that.
if anyone's
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. You said that earlier. But one thing for me is I used to hate these, but I swear by these now. The
yes,
sound hole plug. Like definitely at least have one in your guitar case, even if you don't want to use it, because this will help. And also you can tape a beer mat over the sound hole if you've got some tape. That works too. Like that's for me. Like prevention is better than the cure. And some people will say, well, my guitar doesn't feedback. That is simply not true. Anything can feedback in the right situation. So there might be that time you show up to play somewhere, they have huge monitors on stage and it is feeding back. And then this will be the first thing to try. It's so easy just to throw that in the sound hole and that stops the sound, you know, going back into the guitar and creating that loop. So, and I also, now I loop all the time. The other thing with this is it stops the sound, the ambient sound going into the loop. Because if you loop your guitar and you've got a mic or something in the guitar, a very sensitive pickup, it will pick up all that outside sound and then it'll go into the loop, and that makes the loop a bit dirty. So I use it for that. But I used to hate these things. I used to really not want to use one of these, but now I use them all the time. I think that's really, really important. Or use the silent guitar for that reason as well. But I'm surprised you said that because you've got an undersaddle pickup in your acoustic, and it's pretty hard to make those feedback. Although, like I said, if you're loud, it all depends on the room, how loud it is. There's a
it
lot
could
of
be the guitar.
factors. The
It could be the guitar.
positioning.
The words of the guitar. It could be the positioning, like you're saying,
Mm.
where I am. I don't know. This if
So this is the one that feeds back.
yeah, this is the one that feeds back the most. Yesterday was only on the microphone, but it could have been the volume, sort of thing. But this one, and it's the Eastman E1. So the first one that is all solid woods. I'm a bit disappointed with it, being very sad because it is starting to arch on the bridge. If
Ah.
it's here, it's becoming a bit. So I don't know if it's the wood that is has a bigger tendency to vibrate, because I really like how it sounds. But
Hmm. Yeah, but again, it doesn't matter how it sounds for gigging purposes. That's not what people are
that's
hearing.
it.
And
No.
that's why you may as well just plug the hole anyway, because no one's
Yes.
hearing the guitar. They're hearing the
No.
pickup. So don't even bother. Like, that's just another obstacle. Or use the silent guitar. And then the other important thing is like having access to some kind of notch control where you can then go through and it'll just take that frequency out. That's really
Which I don't.
important, which you don't have. So yeah, so again, that's why I think it's good just to use something like either a silent guitar, which that doesn't have the body at all, a Cole Clark, which uses crossover frequencies, so the low sounds are only being generated by the undersaddle pickup, which has less chance of feeding back. Or you could use, I mean, something like, again, the Anthem uses crossovers as well. Hard to make that. The mic can feedback sometimes, but the fact is anything can feedback. Even a sound hole pickup in my room can feedback. It's to do with positioning and EQ, but certainly some systems are more challenging than others. I'm surprised. Who was it who said? Who was it who said about Fishman PA? If it's just a Fishman piezo under the saddle, you see, I'm surprised. Sound checking noisy pub. I get things approximately how I want them. Invariably tweaking. I mean, we all tweak through the first few songs. That I wouldn't worry about that. Just try to get to a place over time where you've got a consistent sound that kind of works everywhere, and then you'll kind of know what you need to tweak each time from experience. That's what I find. Also, I find a lot of time I'm cutting lows. People do not like to cut lows from acoustic guitar. They feel like they're losing their low end. The fact of the matter is, a lot of acoustic guitars give you way too much low end.
Yeah.
It becomes this boomy, muddy mess that does feedback and sounds messy. So the other useful thing is the high pass filter. So I usually roll that up to about 100. And if I've got the
Yeah.
speaker on a table and it's right against the wall where you get all that bass build up, I might even do it more than that. and use the sound hole plug. And then another thing is loop that and walk out the front and listen to it quickly and then walk back, or use a wireless system so you can actually walk out and hear what the audience is hearing, because often we don't hear what the audience hears. We hear a different sound when we're behind, speakers beside us or in front of us even. We won't hear what the audience is hearing. So a wireless system is really useful for that. Or just record a loop and then just walk out quickly, walk back and start playing the song. That's probably the best way to do it. And again, the Voice Live 3 has those things. It has that looper. So I can just record a loop, walk out the front, have a quick listen, walk back, or get a long guitar cable or something, but then make sure people don't trip over it. But
Right.
yeah, and then I think over time, Graham, you'll just get more used to what works and what doesn't. Steve says, Dance the Night Away is the best 2-chord song ever. Yeah, over here, people don't really know it. I used to play that all the time in England. E and B. Paul says, I do more complicated arrangements that have me move around the fretboard while singing. I definitely do memorize everything. Yeah, well, I guess that if you're playing intricate stuff and you need to see the neck of the guitar, then either you're going to have to back off the mic, or you could get a headset mic. That would solve all your problems. Imagine that. I've got some friends here that sing with headset mics. I've never tried it myself, but if you're doing sort of fingerstyle stuff where you constantly want to look at the guitar and look around at the audience, why not wear a headset mic? You don't need these. If you just had this headset mic like this, then as you look around, the sound won't change. So maybe that's worth considering as well. Rafa's bouncing. Okay.
Sorry, I was typing on my computer, looking at the Voice Live 3 and how much it costs and whatnot.
Steve says, I see a lot of people using tablets for lyrics. I do myself, as trying to keep 100+ songs in memory is difficult. I will say this, I never used lyrics at all. And then once I started using my phone for lyrics, because I can then do requests, and requests are what get you tips over here, I've now forgotten a lot of my songs because I'm too reliant now on having the lyrics there. That's a downside of that. But I think it's, if you're doing bars where they give, yeah, exactly. If you're doing bars where you get tips to play songs you may know but not know well enough to just pull them out of the air, then having a phone or a tablet is good. I think some of my friends have the tablet down low, so it doesn't really block anything. I have the phone up high, so it's about here, so it does block a little bit. But I said to Rafa the other day, he sent me a video, and he's got one of those big, oversized mic music stands. Yeah, I really don't like those, because whenever I go to see someone play and they have one of those, it always blocks the whole guitar. I'm like, I can't see the guitar at all,
Yeah, it's something that I'm gonna have to work on, because it's really I bought it, and it's a big one because my iPad is the big one and I didn't want it dropped. It acts like of a sort of a table if I put my laptop on it. But you're right, it does block a third of my person.
It really does.
So,
You can't see, sometimes, like, you can't see the guitar at all. It's like, and also you can't just pull out a song. So what if someone says, I'll give you $100, £100 to play, this song that you kind of know but you don't really know. That might be the difference between playing. That's why I mainly use it. Difference between playing that song and not. But yeah, I think these days we should all be using the mini iPad or our phone, something small and digital. I think the days of having 100 songs in a binder, because you've also got to stand there. You've also got to stand there and play. You can get the air step pedal is great. I can actually have that on the floor. It's rechargeable. It's small. The battery lasts for like 3 months. You just charge it up every 2 or 3 months, however you play. And if you tap the button, then on song will scroll to the next song. So you can actually just, while you're playing, you just hit it and it goes to the next song, and you go straight into that song. I haven't been using it lately. I was using it a few months ago all the time, and it made a big difference to the set. So I would go digital with that stuff.
There was a Donner page flipper sort of thing as well that's slightly cheaper. I don't know if you ever tried it.
I use the AirStep because no, is it AirStep? AirStep, yeah, the little red one. I use that because it integrates with OnSong, and I use OnSong, so it's very easy to set it up, and it all just works together. And I don't want to. I'm a bit of a snob. I also don't want to deal with like losing connection or I don't. This is what I do full time. I don't really look for that stuff. I mean, it's $80. I just want it to work, be reliable, work with that app. I have that app. I have that. And it makes a big difference, because I was told a few months ago, like, oh, you didn't know what song to play next, or it felt a bit kind of, use on song, make a rough set list, use the pedal, scroll through the songs, and just go straight into the next song, and
Mm.
be prepared. Sometimes I'll stand there and be looking for the next song. It just doesn't look good.
It's a professional tool, isn't it? So it's
It's
for
it's those little things that make things more slick and professional. Definitely,
yeah.
it's those little things, and especially if you're doing like a wedding and you've got some songs on there because they're like a first dance. You don't really know the song. They gave you a week to learn it. If you want to go from that to like the next dance straight away, you don't be standing there like trying to click on the screen and finding the song. You want to have them there, and then you just hit the button and you just go. And that works really well. I've never had any like technical problems with that pedal, so I recommend that. Paul said maybe I should practice in the dark. Hey, why not? Whatever works for you. I think you should consider a headset. I really do. I think
Blindfolded.
no, I really think for someone that's constantly got to look around at the audience, because we won't be looking at the audience, right? But if you constantly got to look at your guitar because you're playing really intricate stuff, why not try a headset mic? And you can get one pretty cheaply. Why not just try one and see how it works for you? I think that could be a good thing. Yeah. Not for what I do. I don't need it. And I've considered it, but I like having the mic stand for the lyrics and for, just I like having the stand there. But I think for what he's doing, that could be a really good solution.
It could clear you though for your dance moves, to get the choreography going, to get
If you're wireless, you could walk out. You could walk around the room as well. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of reasons to use. I might try one day just for a video, just to see like what happens. Bimo said, "Did anyone try the Audigo mic? I've never heard of that, Bimo. Sorry. Have you heard of that Audigo?
no.
I love a feedback buster. I just think everyone, for the sake of $10, everyone should have one in their case
I need
because
to
you
measure
don't
my
know.
guitar. I gotta
That's
use
the
my
other
phone
problem.
to use the
That's the
measure
other.
app
No,
and
that's
then
the other
check.
problem. A lot. Martin Guitar don't make one of these that fit their guitars. It's so ridiculous. So what you have to do is, some people will get an oversized one and cut it smaller. I get a smaller one and add Velcro, the softer Velcro side,
Yeah.
and it makes it bigger, and then it fits in the sound hole. So I was actually going to make a video on that. I probably will, because I really think these are important now. Um, you can modify them to mic it also. Not sure what you mean.
Audigo.
Yeah, I'll look Audio. I'll look that up. Um, I've got a looper on my new Stageman pedal, so I'll try the loop thing. Thanks. Oh, definitely.
I had the next Stageman, but I sold it because
But
I
you have a
wasn't using
looper
it
on
because of the Helix.
yeah, you on the Helix, yeah. So you have it. I think everyone who's solo should have a looper, and it's even better if your looper will let you record and then make changes in real time. So my TC Helicon doesn't do that. But your Helix, you can place a looper at the start of the chain, and then if you decide that there's not enough bass or too much bass, you can make that change, and you'll hear it make the change, and then you put the looper back to the end again.
Got it.
Yeah. So I can do
But
that. If I have like a speaker with a Bluetooth app mixer, I can kind of do that because I can use that to make the changes, and then they're stored in the speaker. But I wish my Voice Live 3 had that ability, where you can essentially record a loop and the voice, and then make the changes in real time, and then you've basically become your own sound person. That's a really useful tool. The Helix allows you to do that. So does the Kemper, so does the Quad Cortex. You can place the looper at the start of the chain, so any changes you make will be reflected in the loop. And then when you
yeah,
perform, you move it back to the end of the chain, so they're not reflected in the loop, because you don't want to hear them reflected when you're performing. You
how
want to hear
would
the
you make
actual thing.
how would you make the change from the beginning of the to the end
You literally just
without
take.
sitting
So,
down and like clicking on it and moving it? Is it do you
well, what
assign
what I
the
would what I
button?
would do, what I'd probably do is I'd probably have two presets. I'd have my preset with the looper at the end for the performance, and then make
Ah,
another preset with the looper at the start. Everything's the same, but the looper's at the start, and then I would use that, and then I would put those. I mean, you could put those changes into the first. No, I wouldn't even do that. I would just move the looper block to the start. Do that, make the changes, and then move the looper block back. It'll take you 5 seconds to do that.
okay. Well, yeah. If I have the laptop with me as well connected, and I don't know.
No, just
But
on the thing
yeah,
itself. You just select the looper block. You just scroll it to the end, press down, done.
okay.
Do your sound check, move it back to the end, done. And any
Ah,
changes you made will
I see
then,
what you mean. I thought you were
yeah.
performing like that, like you're performing the loop and then putting it on, and it's like, how is he like? crouching down, trying to
Oh
bend
no,
over,
no,
trying to
no,
get the
no, no.
things.
I would plug in my guitar, move the looper from the end to the first to be the first thing in the chain. I would record something, walk out the front, make any changes which you would then hear reflected, and then I would move
I
that
see.
back to the end again and save it, and then start the performance. That'd be totally
That
worth
makes
it.
more sense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
even better with something that has an iPad app or an iPhone app, because then you can actually walk out the front and make those changes while you're sitting there on an app.
Yeah.
That is something that we need to see more of in, like the Quad Cortex doesn't have that. It's like, why don't you have that in 2022? The Kemper has that, which is really cool. But then the Kemper
All
isn't
right.
very good for acoustic, but the Kemper allows me to move the looper block remotely from my phone to the start, play the loop, make the changes, move it back, save, all from my phone. That's so useful when you're solo because you don't
It is
have someone to
because
play for you.
if you wanted to buy a digital mixer, those are really expensive.
Yeah.
Uh,
But that's
so
another option, a digital mixer with an app, like the QSC Touch Mix has an app for your iPad. That's another way you could go, and then you can make those changes. You can play the loop, make those changes, and you haven't got to worry about moving the loop around because you're making the changes in the actual mixer itself. There's just more stuff to take, so that is another option as well. But it's nice when it's all in one pedal, especially if you're at open
yeah,
mic or something, you know. All right, very good. So let us know if you've got any last questions. The thing is, we could sit and talk about this forever, and that's why I love this because, like I said, there's so much gear. There's so many different personal situations. Like we had Paul saying about playing those fingerstyle, having the problem with looking at the guitar. I didn't even think about that because I don't really do that. So there's so much we could talk about with this. I think it's really, really interesting. And
it does. It does open
yeah,
the doors. It did open the doors, at least for me, to consider mics, mixers, sort of mixers. Do you want a mixer that tracks then, so you can have the recording of it? Do you want a mixer that has like Bluetooth and all those sort of things?
mm,
PA is that active speakers, passive speakers. Uh, the weight, you want a really powerful PA that's like a 15-inch. I bought a 15-inch speaker, but then it was super heavy to carry around. So now I'm looking at 10 inches, but maybe they're not quite there. So
yeah.
those are all considerations. That's why I asked you about like which one do you use it. Like the S1 Pro, the Bose S1 Pro is an 8-inch. I saw it because I only seen it in pictures, but it's tiny. It's
No,
like
it's
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 the
only
size
six. It's only 6 inches.
6 inches. So it's like the size of my iPad, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
I think it
good, but
is.
then it's not got a lot of headroom. So
No.
it's like I feel like we're all looking for this gear that weighs nothing that will do all our gigs, and that is not going to ever happen. You have to find what works for you. So if you only play cafes, the S1, and you only play, don't need a load of low end because it's a 6-inch speaker, the S1 Pro might be perfect. But if you're the sort of person like me that goes from a cafe to doing a big party, that's not going to cut it at a party for me. It's going to start compressing and distorting. Now, the audience, it might be fine for the audience, but that's not fine for me. I then can't, like even my guitar, it feels like it's kind of dying on me. I don't want that. I would rather then get the 2000 watt QSC speaker, which can handle any gig. It's a bit heavier. It's £30. I don't want a speaker that weighs £60. That's a real hassle. But for £30, I feel like it's worth the trade-off. Um, and I do have that's why I like the new Everse 8. It's got a bit more headroom. This doesn't got enough headroom to do a big. But then again, what is a big gig to me, and what is a big gig to people watching? Like for me, that's like a room where people are talking, and I just need to get that volume over people. So we all have different rooms that we play in, different volume requirements. But I
Yeah.
think with that stuff, you should go for something louder. If you don't need battery power, I think you should just get a really good quality PA speaker
Yeah.
because that will cover loads of situations. If
And
you
I'm thinking
need
as
battery power and portability, then you should look at the battery power ones. But I think I see a lot of people like trying to make those things work. They're like trying to use a small hammer to build a house where they should just get a power drill or something. I see that a lot, and I get it because I'm the same. I don't want to take heavy stuff to a gig, but I also
yeah.
want to have a certain quality of sound as well. I'm not really willing to compromise too much on that stuff. And that's why I love the rig I have now. I feel like the Voice Live 3 with the Cole Clark and a 2000 watt speaker of some kind can do anything really well. And I can carry that in about one trip to the car, or I could take on the subway if I had to. I like that. And I have a few other options like battery powered speakers if they have no power or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think especially with you, like you're doing these rowdier places, I don't think you
Yeah.
should get an S1 Pro as your main speaker.
No.
I think it's not going to satisfy. I think you should probably have one for those times they want that.
Let me see if this is not gonna fail me completely. So currently, you see a bit of the background, but
Ah, so you have one. Okay, good. You have a big
so this
speaker.
is this is the just got in today. It's the 310A, so it
Mm,
says 700 watt. I'm gonna
okay.
say um, active speaker. So and I have the 712, which is a bit more powerful because it's modular, and modular in the sense that I can use that with other pieces of PA speakers, all going into a mixer. And if it can be out, but if the place already has an out PA system, it can be inner monitors, for example, monitors towards you.
Yeah, yeah. I
It's
like that
10:30 here.
modular.
My
I
brain is
like them.
going.
No, I like the modular approach because, like you said, if you have a full PA system with a sub, two tops, and two monitors and a mixer, for some gigs you could just take one top. For some
Yeah,
gigs you could take one top and a sub. For some gigs you could take everything. Whereas if you just have one kind of like a tower system and you try and use that for
exactly,
everything, maybe it's
exactly.
not quite the right thing for certain. So I like that. I mean, ideally you'd have both. Ideally you'd have a battery-powered speaker, a full regular PA system, and a kind of tower system because they all have different pros and cons. But I think the headroom thing is important, the power. I don't think something like an S1 Pro should be used at like a noisy bar gig because I think it will reach its maximum and not be. It won't sound as good as something like that speaker. I haven't tried that, but an actual big speaker. A lot of this stuff is just physics, right? A big speaker with a big amplifier is gonna sound better. It's just the
Yeah,
way it is. But can you carry that thing? Is it practical to carry that? I'd love to have dedicated subs for a band gig, but they're really heavy.
yeah,
And, I don't really need them. I just like to have them. But these days, with the quality of the speakers you can buy, you don't really need the sub, but it'd just be nice to have them. But are you prepared? Can you physically fit those things in the car? Are you prepared to carry them? Anyway, I think we should wrap things up. We've been on for over an hour and a half. This has flown by. And I think this is a good topic because, like I said, there is no real answer. It really depends on your situation and your requirements. So that's why I think it's been a good topic. So thanks for coming on. Now, where can people go if they want to see what you sound like? Where can they go and hear you on the
so
web?
they can on the web. It would be
Mm,
on my Facebook, not Facebook, like on my YouTube, which is just search for my name, Rafael Jesus. I think it will show
okay,
up. It's either me or this Colombian guy that sings salsa really well.
there we go.
So
So
um
type that into YouTube, right? And they'll see you.
yeah, my latest one was a Winston's showreel, which is the pub that I played at.
Mm.
You know, it's just a bit of fun, really. And if I can make a bit of money doing it, it's a plus, isn't it?
I think it's great. I think it's great that you're just doing it and you're keen and you're looking to improve and it's very much old school, sadly, to get out there and just play music to people. And I hope that it continues to last, and I hope the live music thing, comes back even stronger. I mean, I think it's been decent over here, with the fact that everywhere's shut down. It's been decent, but I hope it continues to improve. And I think that, we need people out there playing as well, because if you don't go out and play, then it will suffer even more, right? We need people
Yeah,
actually actively out there playing and really caring about what they're doing and doing a good job of entertaining people in order for that music thing to continue. So yeah, it's been great. Well, anyway, I'm sure I'll see you again. We'll have you back on again
of
sometime. This
course.
has been I've really enjoyed it. And maybe we'll have some other people on as well. Because like I said, all these situations are so different. It's really
Yes, very unique.
interesting. But I've enjoyed this because, like I said, I feel like our journeys have been similar. And it was last week when you posted playing the electric guitar, and I'd been thinking last week about making a video about why do I even bother trying to make this great acoustic sound when I'd actually seen a friend of mine a few days before that used a telly. I went to his gig. He was playing a telly, and I thought, why don't I just play a telly or a Strat? And then you posted the video playing a
Yeah,
telly, and then I know like Jim plays electric. I was thinking,
yeah.
this is a good idea for a video. Like, why am I trying all this acoustic stuff, this amazing acoustic tone at all? Why not just use an electric guitar? So I'm going to try and do a video where I play a song with each, and then people can tell me what they think of the sound. But that's a topic we can talk about another time as well. So let's wrap things up because we've been on for a while. Thanks for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe and ring the bell. I would appreciate it. Like this. And your name again. There we go. Take him off there. So go and subscribe to Rafa's channel. Subscribe to my channel. And I have some videos out this week, so watch out for those. Ring the bell to be notified of that. And Rafa, thanks for joining me. Good luck with the gigs, and we'll talk again. All right, take care.
Cheers.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.